10 key questions to ask after a slip and fall accident. Today we are talking about these 10 important questions that you must ask after a slip and fall accident. I'm Natalie Gerry, the principal lawyer and founder of Gerry Law. I help injured people get the compensation they deserve for their injuries. Let's get into this topic today. 10 key questions to ask after a slip and fall accident. So these types of accidents can result in serious injuries and they can cause financial losses. Understanding the critical details of your case is essential to hold the responsible party accountable. Here are the key questions that you should consider in evaluating your rights and to build a strong premises liability claim. So first of all, what conditions caused your fall? You want to identify and document the specific hazard that led to your slip or trip. It's really important to identify some hazard that was the cause of your accident. And normally this hazard will have to be caused by the occupier of the property. So someone will have had to someone should have not done something that they were supposed to do, or someone did something that they were not supposed to do, and that's what caused your accident. So you want to look, was it a wet floor? Was it poor lighting? Was it a missing handrail? Was there debris on the ground? Was there snow or ice that wasn't properly treated? You want to look at whether the property owner failed to address a condition or failed to warn visitors to the property of a condition of the property. Take pictures of the scene to preserve the evidence before changes are made. So the second question that you want to ask is, how long was the hazard present? The length of time a dangerous condition existed can influence liability. So did the employees or property owners know about the hazard? How long was the hazard there? Should they have reasonably discovered the hazard during a routine inspection? Video footage, maintenance logs, or witness statements will help to determine this. Question 3, who owns or controls the property? So as I was mentioning, liability often depends on who oversees property safety. So who was responsible for keeping that property maintained and safe? Is the property owner, landlord, business proprietor, or management company responsible? You want to get to the bottom of this in order to properly start your personal injury claim. For rented spaces, you want to determine whether the tenant or the landlord was the one who was responsible for maintenance. The fourth question that you want to ask is, was the hazard known or should it have been known? Proving awareness of the hazard is a crucial piece of premises liability. Did anyone report the condition to property management? Was the hazard obvious enough that it should have been discovered under a reasonable inspection? These are important questions to be asked in the course of your accident litigation. Question number 5 that you should be asking is, did they regularly inspect the property for risks? Property owners are expected to conduct regular inspections. Were routine checks performed to identify potential dangers? Did the responsible party fail to recognize and address hazards in a timely manner? These are all questions that you will want to know the answer to in order to properly frame your personal injury action. Question 6 that you want to know is, were proper warnings in place? So if a hazard couldn't immediately be fixed, adequate warnings should have been provided. In terms of adequate warnings, you want to think of things like a wet floor sign, caution tape, or other clear indicators. You also want to consider whether the lack of warning directly contributed to your fall. So if there had been a barrier or a sign, would that have slowed you down? Would that have made you more cautious? I think most of the time the answer is yes, that it makes people a little bit more aware and cautious, but every situation is different, so that factor can be looked at more closely when you are starting your lawsuit. The next question to ask is, where were you looking when you fell? Your own actions may be scrutinized during a legal claim, so this is what's called contributory negligence. The defendant may argue that you were not paying attention to your surroundings or that you were distracted. For example, if you were texting and looking at your phone while you were walking and then you happened to trip, the court might then consider, were you partially responsible for your own injuries? It's a good idea to make notes immediately after the injury to clarify your movements right before the fall, and this will enable you to counter any allegations of contributory negligence. So maybe you were looking at your phone, but you were looking up at the time when you fell. So you want to make note that you were actually finished looking at your phone and you were paying attention to where you were walking at the time. This will become an issue in your lawsuit, most likely. The eighth question that you want to consider is what evidence supports your claim. Collecting strong evidence can bolster your case, so you want to make sure that you're collecting photos or videos of the hazard and the time that it was there. You want to make sure that if there are witnesses who can confirm the dangerous condition and your fall, you want to make sure that you have their contact information. You also want to think of whether you have kept records about your medical expenses and your treatment. If you do hire a lawyer, they will be able to get your medical records, and you should always keep your out-of-pocket expenses related to your accident so that you can produce those later. Question 9 is, did the property owner address or create the hazard? The property owner may be liable if they created the hazard, for example, a spilled liquid or debris that was left, or if they failed to maintain the property, or they failed to repair a known issue within a reasonable period of time. If they failed to put up a warning sign, if they knew that they couldn't get to the maintenance right away, if they took insufficient precautions to prevent the accident from happening. Question 10 is, did you notify the property owner or manager? So immediate notification can strengthen your claim because it shows that the injury happened and right away you were thinking, I should tell them about this hazard because I don't want this to happen to someone else. But it also just corroborates the timing of the incident. It reduces the likelihood that the defendant will argue, oh, this didn't happen on the day, it didn't happen at the location. You want to make sure that if possible, you are asking for an incident report to be created. It's also important to save a copy of the report for your records. Your lawyer can request it later, but if you can get a copy at the time, that is the best course of action. So that covers the 10 important questions to ask after you've been injured on someone's property. It's important also to note that slip and fall cases require expertise to navigate the liability laws, to gather evidence, and counter defense tactics. An experienced personal injury lawyer will assess the details of your case, identify responsible parties by doing legal searches, and they will advocate for fair compensation. It's important that you discuss this with a lawyer so they can protect your rights by acting promptly and seek legal guidance after your accident as soon as possible. I can be contacted for a free consultation at the information below. I would be happy to discuss the particulars of your case and give you some advice.